we are back one more week on the GDE show. Andreu, Wajahat, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us yet another day. Andreu, how are you, my friend?
I am very well. Thank you for asking, my friend, too.
Welcome, welcome. It's very nice to see you. As you know, today we are gonna torture our third guest through our monologue, and I believe, Andreu, that you have a couple of pieces of news that are quite interesting. So, what do you have for me this way? Tell me.
So, before to start the show, I was thinking that I need a new webcam, and I was thinking where to do I have to go to buy a new one. So sadly, I see some news on the websites saying something like, "Confirm, Fry's Electronics is going out of business, shutting down all the stores." OMG. Another one. Best Buy is laying off 5,000 workers as it shifts focus to online sales. And this make me reminded that a few years ago, not a few, maybe 10, Circuit City, that was other big chain of electronics, consumer electronics, filed for bankruptcy. It was in 2008, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So very sad news.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, this is a change is starting for sure, right? On that aspect. So I don't know. I mean, what is next for you? Is it gonna be Amazon or what?
So Amazon is keeping our desks repleted of material, but this is something like a pandemic style. There is no personal relationships. Only you make a click on a button, the one click buying, and it is sad to see that those great stores are going to I don't know where. And also because you also can find there some really cheap, some weird USB gadgets or 5-year-old graphic cards or also deals that you never knew that to expect these ones.
Wait, Andrew. I have to stop you right there because and tell you something that I think it's even very important. Even though I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, of course, I think this is an opportunity to YOLO ourselves into some of these trades. I think we should go and buy Best Buy on the stock market heavily. Haven't you heard about Wall Street bets and GameStop flying away? As Steam was supposed to kill them. The evil hedge funds of Wall Street shorted it, but you should never dismiss a geeky mob on the internet, my friend.
I can believe you that you are one of those crazy Redditors that invested in GMA.
I would not confirm nor deny that I invested on GME. I
I will take this as a yes. Have you been also investing on DOGE coins? Looks to me equally crazy.
I mean, I define myself as an eclectic investor, if you want. Andrew, I have many stupid interests and terrible returns on mostly all of them. But yeah, I'm willing to bet that some followers of these shows have got great returns for either GameStop or Dodge lately. And by the way, this same week, the stock tried again to go to the moon with 300 plus stock prices. It's been quite crazy.
Yes, it is. And we have seen over the past few years a massive change on access to technology. Nowadays, retail investors are starting to have access to the same technology and protocols that before were only in the hands of big shot traders.
I agree, exactly. I mean, it reminds me of how computing became accessible to cloud access, mobile access, and suddenly anyone competes with much larger companies from their garage. It's going to happen the same thing.
I think will be an exciting time to pay attention to in the financial world, both regular stocks and crypto. Everyone knows that when geeks enter a new game, they are gonna break things because we break things. Bugs will be discovered, and I can already imagine that. Have you tried to turn off the stock market and turn it on again?
That always works. Come on, I mean that is something that is going to work for every time. I don't see the problem, Andrea, but I get your point. Geeks are dangerous. I have caused several literal and metaphorical fires over the years while I was trying new technologies, so I totally get it.
So never superestimate Murphy's Law. If something can't go wrong, it will go wrong.
That is true. That is true. Exactly that, like it happened with this monologue. 1 week more, it wasn't funny at all, and it went really wrong. So I think it's time to stop this and introduce our guest. So, Andreu, do you want to introduce, please, Wajahat?
Of course. We have today Wajahat Karim is Pakistan's first Google developer expert in Android. As an experienced Android developer, he deeply cares about it and keeps writing and speaking about it. He has written two worldwide 300 plus pages books on Android development with more than 100 articles around the internet, either on his website or in his Medium publications. He's also a passionate contributor in open source and has created many Android libraries used by thousands of developers in their apps worldwide. As an active public speaker, he spends lots of time giving talks in conferences and motivating people on Android development. So, welcome, Wajahat.
Welcome, Wajahat. How are you? Tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do? What is your actual job? Where do you live right now? Tell us everything. We are finally reaching that moment where we are gonna shut up and let our viewers know you.
Okay, wow. I must say this is very exciting, and this definitely feels like a TV show, although it's not. So, thank you, Victor. Thank you, Andreu, for inviting me here. And I really appreciate the opportunity. And I would like to share my experiences and anything which can probably help with community anyhow. So that's what GDs are for, community and helping others. So as you guys said, that my name is Wajahat Karim, and I am from Pakistan, and currently I'm the only Android GDE in Pakistan. So that's why they call me first Android GDE, and I hope that we will get more in Android. We definitely have few in other fields like Firebase and web and Angular and machine learning, but not Android at this time. So I have been working on Android for like 8 years now, 9 years. My first one was Eclair 2.1, and I must say that Eclipse and at that time the emulator was very very horrible. So things have really evolved a lot and improved in a better sense. So yeah, and also keep improving, like the things you see about Jetpack Compose and all these Android Dev Challenge submissions. It's just crazy on Twitter, these days. It's been very exciting time of Android development. And about me, I am currently working with a Canadian company. It's called Trapeze Group. I am remotely working with them for more than 3 years now, and I am the Android component lead there. And we have this application about looking for the routes and what buses will come when, and you can search about the itinerary. And so it's a large scale application, and I had really tremendous experience learning a lot of things there. And besides my job, I'm very passionate about writing. So these days I'm not getting much time because I have a toddler baby in my house. So it has become very hard.
Congratulations!
Uh,
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been crazy for last 2 years, and it's fantastic. I never dreamed that kind of life in my home. I never imagined that. So even I started a publication and looking to share my experiences about parenting. It's called Developer Dads. It's mostly about how actually do you manage work from home while having a toddler baby. So these days, like he just climbs up. He doesn't care that whether I'm in a meeting or not. And for this interview, I have to empty the whole house.
Just in
We
case.
can't really
Just as a
expect
precaution, I
anything
get it.
from. Yeah. So yeah, so that's how it is, and I have learned a lot of things about parenting. I just find it very fascinating that how these little babies actually learn so much stuff on their own. We can't teach them, they just pick it up. I always get surprise on seeing the things he is learning and how he's learning. I always wonder that what is running inside their tiny little brains all the time. So yeah, it's very
Definitely.
exciting.
And that's
And,
it's a way to learn, right? And we're gonna talk about that later because we want to know a little bit more on how you learned too at the
Yes.
beginning, right, Andreu?
Yes. Yes. Maybe usually what I had, we have some questions that are common for interview, and we would like to know something about how do you started on technology. Explain us.
okay. So I must say that this is sort of spoiler alert at this time because and Google developers have featured me for their Android Dev series, Android Dev Journey, a new series they have. So my story about how I got into Android development is probably coming on last weekend of this March. So that's why I said that this might be a little spoiler, but I'd like to share it here. So this is audio, and so I would get more, content than the written content. So yeah, so I belong to a very poor family, and my father was a laborer, and but since my childhood, I had been very much passionate about colors, especially colors and paintings and art. I used to sell these paintings to nursery and Montessori schools for 50 rupees a chart. It was not so much money, but it was very fantastic hobby of mine, and I used to do it a lot. So somehow my sister she purchased a PC. Uh, I was at like 14 years old at the time, and I was very passionate about drawings and paintings and all this stuff. So when I looked at a PC, and I was like, "Wow, this is interesting." So we can do things like digital. So let's try it. So there was not much internet and something like that. So I'm also from interior, so we did not have that literacy rate in our home. So she brought it for the typing and data entry. So I said, okay, let's start with some paintings. So Microsoft Paint was the first tool I actually used, and it was
Wow.
horrible. I must say that it was literally horrible. So somehow I got into Photoshop, and I used to, fantasize about these TV ads you see, especially in cricket matches. Players' profile is coming and lights are throwing. So I was like, how do you create those animations? So I got into Adobe Flash at the time, and I did not have an internet connection. So I used to, 5 rupees were my pocket money, and I used to collect 5 rupees for 3 days, and those will make 15 rupees. And I used to go to the internet cafe, and 15 rupees for 1 hour. So I used to bring my notebook and search anything like how do you create a snake game in Adobe Flash, or how do you create this, and whatever articles I came up with, I just had to write it, in practical. So I used to copy all the content from internet and write it on my notebook, and then next 3 days I will be trying to experiment with those and see how things turn out. So it was very crazy. I had to struggle a lot for even small things because of there was no awareness, there was no technology, there was not that kind of time. So somehow. I gave a test in one of the biggest universities, and I couldn't afford it. But government was very, kind enough to offer me a scholarship of like 2.5 million PKR. So it was a huge
Wow.
amount, and they covered, everything from my expenses to my tuition fees to my hostel, my accommodation, everything. So even they gave me a train ticket once a year to go home and visit. I was like 24 hours away from my home to study there. So that's where I actually started learning C++ and programming, and I said, whoa, so programming is so much fun. Why not mix programming and animations and see
Hmm.
what happens? So that was the time of game development, and I was like, games are very fun. So I had been very passionate game player, Vice City, Commandos, God of War, and you name it. Like a lot of games I used to play on my computer. So I said, okay, let's create games. So I spent 3 semesters on game development, and it was like C++, black screen, and OpenGL a little to make something graphic. But then this team came up from abroad to give a workshop on Android development, and it was like, okay, so the workshop was for the audience like software architects, chief technology officers, and those kind of, Android was very new at the time, and there was no Android phone in Pakistan as well. So it was at like 2.0 or 2.1 stage, Eclair. So they were, creating awareness about Android development, and so this was this workshop. So it was very expensive, and I couldn't afford it, obviously. So university decided that they will send 3 students free of charge. So I was one of them because I was popular in programming and about all this work I was doing for games. So it was 3 day workshop, and I went there. And if I say that how was it, I would say I did not. I had no idea what was going on. It was very high level. I just couldn't get it. So Android was a very bad thing for me at that time. It was like, oh no, I can't. This is very
Starting.
hard. So it was like I was a fox who couldn't grab the grapes, and now I'm saying that grapes are sour. You know. So
That is
so
amazing.
it was like that.
It's funny, right? How that same moment, because it doesn't matter what country are you from, in what context it happened, but that first time that you see the machine working, right, and it feels like magic. That first PC from your sister, there is always, that first contact with a machine, and then the stories vary so much, right, to get us where we have. But it's very interesting to know that first contact, right, that very first moment that you get passionate about the technology.
So, Victor,
Exactly. So
before to continue, please, Wajahat, let me make you a question, a simple question. How do you feel now about the Flash technology being killed? I mean, you say you started with Flash, so Flash is nowhere now. What do you think about this change in the technology world?
So, personally, on my personal level, it is heartbreaking for me. I have worked with Flash like my first 2 jobs were in Flash.
Mm.
So if we collected from since the time I started learning Flash to the time I actually started moving to the Android native development, leaving Flash. So you could say I spent like 9 or 10 hours on Flash, and Flash was my
Wow.
go-to tool for anything. If I had to design something, Flash. If I had to create some video, Flash. If I had to create a slides or presentation, Flash. So Flash was like everything.
Yeah.
So C++ helped me get into ActionScript and programming, and even my final year project was about Flash. It was a 3D game which I created in Flash. So yeah, so Flash is my first love. Not Android, Flash. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know, and it's funny, right? Because we all have those technologies that now are dead, but we will always remember, with love. I mean, I remember programming my first Microsoft Access scripts at a very very long time ago, but that was the first thing that I programmed. And still today, when Microsoft Access has a new version, I still look at it to see what are they doing these days, because it was my first experience. So you mentioned, Wajahat, that you were struggling right at the beginning with Android, and it was so high level on that piece. And you ended up becoming a GDE in Android, the Google Developer Expert recognized in Android. How did you join the program? How was it for you? How did you went from that first step to struggling with Android to becoming a GDE?
Yeah, I must say it's a roller coaster, and I never imagined that I would become a GDE. So it was just sort of fall into my lap. So so it was very coincidental. As I said, that workshop went horrible for me because I couldn't understand it. So after that, they decided announced a competition. It was an open competition, so we could choose any technology, any language, any programming. But they were giving a plus point for Android development. So I just thought, okay. So in that was agreed, 20 extra points for Android. So I said, okay, let's try it and see how this works. So what I did that I participated in the competition, but at that time there was no Android development,
Mm-hmm.
resources on the internet available. Not much. It was very new, and it's still in internal phases or something. So there was this book teacher of mine gave me. Hello Android. You know. So what I did, I copied the whole book, photocopied,
Yeah.
and I tried to learn from it. And I participated in a competition and created the application. And somehow it was
What was it?
very
I
funny.
need to know what application did you build? What was your first app ever?
Oh yeah. So it was a flock birth simulation.
Nice.
These birds come into like jets, triangular.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied that there is a very interesting science behind it. That if they travel in the triangular position, then they will feel less friction of the air and they will feel less pressure. And the most central one is getting the heavy burden. So what birds do, that they keep changing positions after the time. So I also created
Wow, I
that.
didn't know
It
that. That's
was
awesome.
it so it was the same OpenGL for me, same OpenGL concepts and everything same. Just it was on running on Android. So that's how I got into it, and I won the competition. I got a first prize, and they gave me 100,000 rupees. I did not know what to do, so the first thing I thought, okay, so I have got 100,000 rupees as a prize money. So let's buy a phone,
Mm-hmm.
Android phone.
Of course.
so so I bought an Android phone, and that's where my Android development started. And I realized that there is not much resources, so I started a blog on blogger.com and kept sharing about my stuff. So after 2 years, when I was in my final year, I had to choose a project for the final year. So I chose a game, but that game was created in Flash, but that was deployed on Android tablet through Adobe Air. So Android was somehow revolving around my life throughout whole university. I was writing about it all the time, like how do you call a number from Android, how do you connect a Bluetooth, and those sort of articles. And it was very interesting article. I used to get a lot of requests, and I used to get some projects as well. But then after the university, a publisher approached me, seeing my blog, and said, okay, PackPub approached me and said, "Can you write a book for us on Android?" And
Wow.
Wow, that's
I was
that's
like,
amazing.
Yeah.
I was like,
Uh,
I have not written any book so far. I have only written, articles. I'm not sure about it.
this
Okay,
is this
let's
is
write
one
one.
this is one of the things they say you have to do before die. Oh,
Wow,
that's
that's
nice.
amazing.
Learning
So,
Android intense. Wow.
so they gave me this idea that we want to write on Android Intense, and I was like, what? Android Intense? I would say that's not a very good idea. Intents are only used for starting an activity. That's it. There are 3 lines of code which uses Android Intense. That's it. So if you have an application of like 3 screens or 4 screens, you will get like 12 lines of code of intent. That's it. And beside that, everything is different. So I was like, how am I supposed to write 300 pages on intents? So it was a lot of challenge. I had to read every piece of documentation I could find on intent, and this involved Android source code, this involved other book, this involved Google documentation, everything. It took me a year, but to
Wow.
this day, I feel that this was my biggest achievement. I'm so much proud of it. And later I wrote another one. Again, this was about Android, but this was about my first love game.
Uh-huh.
So, so
Which one
this
is
is
it?
the
Android game developed with Unity.
With Unity.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
so So, regarding the technological shift, my first 2 jobs were in Adobe Flash, and when I started realizing that Adobe is, ditching the Flash, and it's time for HTML5, and I wanted to stick to the game development. It was very interesting to me. I used to find applications boring. Applications are all about give data, take data. That's it. So each screen is giving data and taking data, and that's it. No more,
Input, output, input, output, right? Always the
yeah.
same.
So games were very different. For each game, you have to define the physics, you have to define the rules, you have to create a game engine first. Later, you will create a game, and for the game engine, you have to figure out everything. And for every different game, it was whole next level of stuff. So it was very interesting, and I was working on a Facebook game, and at that time, Zynga, Poker, and Farm Village, those were crazy, crazy. People were spending a lot of time. So we created this game, Baby World. So it was all about, mothers. So mothers have to nurture a baby, give them clothes, give them food, and designer from Disney actually joined the team, and she created this amazing kind of graphics, and it was a very cute game. If you look at it and you are like, wow, this is very interesting. So we got like 8 million monthly active users with zero
Oh,
marketing.
Wow,
no.
So
that's
it was
insane.
in 6 months. We used to maintain a Facebook group for all these mothers, and they were all the time, oh, my baby is crying, I don't have credits, I can't eat him, I can't make him eat. Can somebody give me some bonus credits so I can buy food and give him? So yeah, so it was a very interesting experience. But at the time, I realized that there are not much opportunities in Pakistan about game development, and I had to move to Karachi, and it was near my hometown. So yeah, so I couldn't find a job there about game development. So I had to decide, okay, let's go to app development, and that's it where I actually started professional Android development. So I did it for 5 years, and after that, I was invited to this event Google I/O attended, and there Googler from Singapore saw my profile and heard my talk, and he was like, after 3 days, I get this message from Google that, do you want to become a GDE in Android?
Wow. So
So,
they, I mean, they literally cast you in. I mean, they put a casting only for you almost on that piece. And again, I mean, knowing your story and knowing a little bit of that, it's funny, right? Because it's so hard to do intents well, even though they are easy. It's hard to do it well, and writing a book about it, definitely something amazing. Performance for Unity over Android, definitely something absolutely worth it. So yeah, that is really interesting. I love that story. I know that Andreu has a lot more though, a lot of more questions. That is my first Android too, Andreu, by the way.
No, this is not my first Android.
That's
I switched off the camera because I was looking for the first. I have also G1. I have a
oh.
G1, and I can find it. I can tell you, I don't want to move the camera, but I have something like 50 phones over my desk now, and I am not finding the
okay.
G1, but I found the Google one,
Yeah, yeah.
the
I
one.
remember that very well. I
Very,
remember
very,
that very
very,
well.
very, and it was a very good phone because it was so handy. It was, I would say, a little screen, a three, almost four,
Yeah, 3.5
and
inches, right?
yeah, it was smaller. It was very nice. So regarding Android, I have a very special question for you, Wajahat. What's your opinion about Chrome OS? Do you think at some moment that we will have Chrome OS powered mobile phones, plenty of AMP or similar technologies instead of Android applications? What is your idea about the future of the mobile and the Android world?
Okay, I must say that I'm using Chrome OS for a few months now. There's a person, Alicio, on Twitter. He has helped me a lot with onboarding and getting into it. Oh wow, that is definitely awesome. So I don't have Pixelbook. I definitely want to buy one, but it's just that I am a heavy user of Windows, probably because of Flash and other things which I use a lot. It's still
Remember,
less than.
Flash is dead now.
Officially,
Okay,
sadly,
so
yeah. So
I never got into Apple stuff, Mac and all the time. So at this point, my PC got somehow corrupted, and it wiped my 1000 GB SSD drive. out of nowhere, and it was Windows was locked down, so I cannot add new, I cannot install new one, I cannot repair, and I just couldn't. Windows has this signal that my hard drive is locked. I did not know what to do, so
Wow.
it kept my laptop like 3 days. I didn't know what to do, so I thought, okay, let's try Ubuntu. So I installed it, and Ubuntu was installed on first run. No hard drive lock and something anything. So apparently, I was trying Ubuntu, and it was only for at that time a friend of mine. He's also an Android developer. He suggested me that if you are under Ubuntu, why not use Chrome OS? Chrome OS comes with Linux beta, and Chrome also will help you in Android development because there is no emulator. You run the application directly on your device. So I was like, what? Really? So he actually motivated me to try Chrome OS, and I installed it, and I was so much in love. I still that day. I primarily use Chrome OS, but for some occasions like this, I'm using Windows. So Chrome OS is overall good, but there are some things which needs to be improved, and I think that Chrome OS is getting more and more polished by the time. And the Linux support was big one. It just redefines whole thing.
Yeah.
So for Chrome, I can use Android, I can use Linux, and I can use the beauty and minimalism of Chrome OS inside it. So with the Linux, I can actually grab almost any software which is available in Windows and Linux as well. So
Yeah.
it actually redefined the whole. And
So
I still, kind
thinking,
of want to buy a pixel book.
thinking about this, my question was about being you a very experienced Android developer with 2 books. That's a lot, man. So,
Okay.
what do you think for the future of the platform? I mean, for the future of both the platform, Android as a platform, now that 12 is coming in weeks, and also for, I would say, of the mobile environment, both the OS and also the applications running over it.
So I'm not sure that whether Chrome OS is actually a good choice for mobile devices.
Whatever you want. I use Chrome OS just to say to change that. Maybe in the future we have to change the OS. That was my question. What about the future? What do you see? You use a both?
Oh, yeah. So there are a few things I must admit. So number one is that the devices we get, like mobile phones, we have actually diverted from the original focus. The technology is going somewhere else, and I don't know why. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't seem, so fair. So mobile phones were for the purpose of connecting with each other, mobile phone calls, and that's it. So we used to have these Nokia mobile phones. They used to run like 8 days, 9 days without a single charge. So, and if elephant puts his foot on that phone, it will not break. It will remain the same. So, uh, don't I think that is actually the mobile phone. That is the purpose of mobile phone. Getting connected. And now we are seeing everything on mobile phones, and it is actually diverting us from the original purpose. And now we have this concept of screen addiction, social media addiction, and whatnot. And that is ruining our society, our kids, our psychology, and everything. And so I think that mobile phones should be minimal, back to the original shape where they were. Yes, now we can add some improvements, like we can add maps and WhatsApp and communication tools and something like that, but it shouldn't be more than that. There shouldn't be a lot of fancy stuff. I see these foldable phones, I don't know why. So it seems that computers are trying to become mobiles, and mobiles are trying to become computers.
I
You
agree.
know.
Yeah.
So
So
it's funny,
no,
we should focus on one thing.
it's interesting, right? Because this kind of the attempt to getting the device that does everything has created some really Frankenstein devices over the years, for sure. I have to tell you, I mean, I am a GDE myself from web technologies, and I have been defending and building HTML5 progressive web apps as you were building Android applications, native applications. So I need to ask, what is your take on native versus web apps embedded on a mobile phone. How do you see that battle in the future? It's gonna go to the web technology side. It's a Victor victory, or it's gonna be a Wajahat victory for Android. What do you think on what is the future? Native, progressive web apps. There is a space for both. What do you think?
Okay, that is an interesting question. Let me share you a little background. So, like few weeks ago, I met this person. He runs a company, and he showed me a phone that is powered with Kai OS. Have you heard about Kai
Yeah,
OS?
yeah, yeah. Of
So,
course.
so I looked at it and I asked what is the price, and he's like 2,000 rupees only. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, so in 2000 rupees phone, you get WhatsApp, you get Google Maps, you get 3G, you get 4G, you get YouTube, and you get like 5 days of battery. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I said, this is fantastic. What kind of applications runs on? Like how Google Maps is working on it? And he said, it is PWA, Progressive Web Apps.
Uh-huh.
So, so I looked up into it and I realized that Kai OS is targeting for next billion users. Current billion users are scattered around Android and iOS and a little BlackBerry and other OSs, but next billion users, the people who actually can't afford the phone, you know, can't afford Android phones and can't afford internet and something like that. So I really liked the idea, and at that time I figured that PWA is going to, revolutionize a lot, as compared to native development. So these all cross-platform tools like React Native and Flutter, they are actually somehow very fantastic for these kind of applications where you have an API and you are hitting it over and over and again for taking data, sending data, and all that. So e-commerce or food delivery or that kind of applications are very perfect for cross-platform and also PWA as well. And beside that, I don't think that native is a right choice for them, considering that they have to write for two platforms separately. So native power comes where we have embedded systems in cars and in things like that, and then we have hardware requirements, we have specialized filters and everything. So, if I would say that Snapchat should be created in native, but at the same time we can actually move all this image processing and filter processing on server, and we can do it in PWA cross platform. So to your question, I would say that PWA is definitely a growing technology, and it's going to get some real traction and get some real audiences. For any startup, I see that applications are secondary. Firstly, they try to launch a website and try to validate their idea. So there is still more opportunities for web developers than mobile developers, let alone for Android or iOS. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I have to tell you that I didn't expect it to learn so much today. I mean, we learned from the origins of Android to why birds fly the ways they do. So it was a very, very interesting conversation, and we loved every single piece of it. I'm sure that our viewers will have plenty of questions. So remember to follow Wajahat on Twitter too, so you can continue to ask him questions on that part. And you mentioned also the IO extended. Andreu, I know you have an IO project related, right? That you wanted to mention before we say goodbye to both our guests and our viewers.
Yes, because Google is going to be announcing the Google I/O on a streaming this year,
Virtual, yeah,
not
virtual
live,
IO.
virtual I/O. So we started past year doing the I/O Week project. You can find it on Twitter or also the web.com I/O Week project, and this is some kind of community that wants to share some of the memories that when we went to the Google I/O for real, to the Moscone Center or the Shoreline Amphitheater. So we want that the people that are listening us and has these memories share with us, just making a tweet, sending us some text to with photos for posting on the website. And I think it's a very nice opportunity to share these past memories because sadly, still this year we are not gonna meet again at the Google I/O for in person. So it is a good thing to collaborate this way.
Definitely.
Oh no. I So I became a GDE in last year, February 2020.
Uh-huh.
So so actually, when Google approached me for becoming a GDE, I couldn't become when at that time I had to, go through GDE program for 3 times.
Yeah.
So So there was a medical emergency. My father was diagnosed with unfortunately brain tumor. So I got busy in that time, and Google said, "Okay, take your time and see how it goes." So it took me a year to apply, and then I sent them email that, "Okay, I'm interested and I'm available." So that's where I became DD. And in February, I was announced, and uh, in Pakistan, media started like Pakistan gets first Android GDE and everywhere. And I got accepted into a Malaysia conference for speaking, and my passport was expired, so I was renewing it, and I get this email, boom. So from Google, we are temporarily holding all the travel and everything, and I said, what? No, I want this year.
Well,
So yeah.
time will come again,
Yeah,
and we will have the
time.
opportunity to meet. To meet.
I'm sure it
Uh,
will come. I'm sure it will come.
before you close, Victor, just tell to the people that is seeing or listening us, because we also watch that we publish this on Anchor FM, and you can get this audio in whatever podcast application you use. So we will publish the on the YouTube, because this is the place, the address of your books with the Amazon link if you have it, or
Of course.
whatever kind
Yeah.
of place you
Yeah,
have provided us,
I'll share
because
it.
it is
Yeah.
very important that you have done a very amazing job, and this has to be promoted.
Promoted and
Thank
recognized,
you.
definitely. And again, I
Exactly.
enjoyed so much,
Thank
honestly, Andreu. I mean, we only had interviews so far. This is our first episode, 3 GDEs, and we have learned so much, so many stories from all around the world. It's been a pleasure, as always, to host this with you. Wajahat, it's been an awesome pleasure to meet you. I hope that you can come and participate on one of our Dev Fest, either in Spain or in the US, very, very soon when the pandemic finishes. But I would love to hear more of your stories. Andreu, thank you as always from Jeddah, Wajahat from Pakistan,
My
a
pleasure.
pleasure. And right here, Victor saying goodbye from San Francisco. We will see you in 2 weeks for our fourth episode. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye
Bye.
bye.